Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, for as long as you can. Do all the good you can!
Hey, go home!
Good morning. I hope you all have gotten as much humor and fun out of John Wesley and our budding actress Gracie as we have. We hear that there is, he wants to have a sequel, that he wants to come back again this summer, and so be prepared. John Wesley might pop up again here and there. So I'm Doug Meyer. For those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the associate pastors here, and welcome. We're glad to have our online audience as well, our online church family, and know that we love you, and we hope that you're always a part of our lives here. So this morning, we're going to go on a little journey, and I hope that you will come along to me. We're going to go collectively to a place that in a way we all share, but that is uniquely each of our own. I'm not sure what to call it. It's that place where our identity, our decision-making center, whether it's your gut, your heart, your soul, your gut, that in part forms our very identity. That is our all in all that makes us tick. It has already been at work today, helping us make decisions. Think about this morning. So we've got about 11:20 here. How many decisions do you think you've already made today? Well, you made one to come to church, but before that you had to decide what to wear. Before that you had to decide another cup of coffee or not, and who's going to take the dog, right? We live on a sequence of decisions. It's always a part of who we are, and they're going on no matter what. There are some that are instinctive. There are some that are just part of our wiring. The easy ones are the automatic ones, right? Those just come and go, and they just roll off our back. And then there are the other ones that take a little bit of thoughtfulness and a little bit of consideration. I had a church member this morning say to me, "How did you decide to wear white tennis shoes to preach in?" It wasn't a hard decision. I just did it. Apparently, he thought maybe it was a bad decision. I don't know. Sometimes our decisions are crafted by just the basics of what we need, right? Man, I needed another hour's sleep this morning. I don't know about you all. And man, I was really looking forward to having a hot cup of coffee. This decision-making process just continues forever and always to unfold. It is shaped by where we've been. Your people who helped raise you and their people's people, and the values that they upheld and the things that they said, this is how the Meyer people live life. This is how the Humpert people do life. This is, and the culture in which so there's just this cavalcade of contributions. And in the midst of that, I'm going to make an assumption that because you're here today, somewhere along that journey, your decisions are also formed by your faith or your parents' faith. There's somebody else who said, here is what we believe. And at a certain point, you said, I think I need to craft for myself what I believe. So just imagine this is a huge swirling set of life and situations. And in the midst of all of that, you and I are trying to be the best Christians we can be. Most of the time, right? Most of the time. I don't know about you, but it seems as though it's getting a little harder. You know, when I was a young lad growing up, I was like Mr. Sunday School. I would get up on Sunday mornings and I'd put on my little blue blazer and my little clip-on tie and my big kid's Bible, and off to Sunday school I would troop. Because my life was pretty much the life of any other little suburban kid. It was pretty easy. I hadn't come in contact with anybody that made life too hard. Well, there was a bully or two, but it was just, life was not in any way, shape, or form challenging. So I just kept making those easy choices. Well, as life would have its way, and you know, you graduate from high school and you go to college, and then you start working on a graduate degree. And what I found is that I was always competing in my command center with about a dozen squirrels. Do you have squirrels running loose in your command center? Mine would be carrying banners that would say, "Are you sure? Don't do that now. Go over here now. You're afraid of that. You don't like those people. Those people are scary, full of fears and assumptions and biases and distractions. And, oh, by the way, have you done this lately? No, don't do that. Running around the whole time, I'm just trying to decide the very next thing to do. Do you have squirrels? Look at the person next to you. You can tell just by looking at them. Do they have squirrels running loose in their minds? Y'all know who I'm talking about. If you are that person, you know we're going to start a support group. And in the midst of all of that, our decision maker command center continues to absorb new information by leaps and bounds every single day. In the early service, I got in a little trouble because I asked if y'all still know about libraries. Do y'all know about libraries? Are books still a thing? No, Gracie, don't look at me like that. They are not still that big a thing. I mean, we look at articles, we read things on the internet, and it just, but imagine your command center is like a nonstop library, continuing to get new information shoved into it every day, every nanosecond, piled into that. And in the midst of that, you and I are continuing to try to be the Christian disciple that God has invited us to be in all the ways, in all the places. Well, hold that close this morning as we begin to kind of live into what we have been talking about here for the last couple of weeks. And in part, we've talked about what's it mean to live a generous life with your faith. Not necessarily with your funds, but that's important too. But how do you live generously? Do you live generously with your words, with your affirmations, with your appreciation, with your life? Do you give of who you are in a free and loving and caring spirit? So we're going to call that just evidence piece number one. The second one is we have been embracing this quote attributed to John Wesley, the do all the good you can phrase. Do y'all have it memorized by now, 4 weeks straight? Who would like to come up in front of the class and recite it? How about let's all do it together? What do you say? Join me. Do all the good you can by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can. Whew, that's a lot. I think that is worthy of cutting it out a strip at a time and just putting that on the refrigerator or on your bathroom mirror and going, today I will try to do all the good I can. That is a tall order, isn't it? This morning we're going to undergird that with Jesus' words written down by John. In John 15, if you want to, it's going to be on the screen, but if you want to flip there in your Bible. It's a part of what's called the final discourses. It's, to kind of put it in our everyday language, it's the things Jesus said to his followers before he left them. It's the things that would fall in the same category, but in a much bigger way that you tell your kid before they go off to college. The most important things in the whole wide world, I need you to absorb into your psyche right now. This is how it goes. This is my command, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you to do. My friends, this is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Oh, that it were that simple, right? I mean, we've had the review, we had the pep talk, and then we've got we know we want to be generous people. We know John Wesley gave us these marching orders. We got the how-to from Jesus. One option is we stop here and we go to lunch early. What do you say? Is that all we need to know? We just need the handout, right? Just give me the handout. I believe that you would agree with me that it's not that easy. We want it to be easier than it is. And in some times and in some places, loving people is pretty easy. There are easy people to love, aren't there? I hope you're sitting by one or near one or know of one or have been around one. They make loving easy. But then there are other people and places and times that are not quite so easy, are there? That's when you call into that bank of good intentions, that place in your mind that, I'm going to try really hard to, or I meant to, or I think I'm going to, or maybe tomorrow I will, or I've heard that other people can. You know that place that every now and then we pull out of when there's somebody really, really hard to love. And, you know, it just dawned on me, maybe you're that person, or maybe I'm that person. Maybe I'm on somebody else's list. They're like, oh, Pastor Doug, that's pretty funny because I really find it hard to love you. See, I just assume everybody loves me. Wendy, doesn't everybody love me? All right, very good, sweetheart. I gave her a little card ahead of time that said, when I turn to you, here's your answer. Friends, I don't, again, know about you, but I suspect that there are times that you are like me, that when we come to these crossroads, that it just feels like you're stuck. The image that came to my mind this week as I was writing was that time when you are on your computer and you're clicking from this to this, and all of a sudden that little wheel just goes around and around and around and around. You don't know why. You don't know what you did. I certainly don't. I am not the church's IT expert. But I look at that and I just click on more things. Because, you know, the more you click and the more you try to escape, and that usually fixes it or not. I have threatened to power down the whole church just to power back up my computer, but I don't. I just click the power off, click it back on, and voila. Oh, that it were that simple, right? How is it that we face these crossroads of making big, hard decisions that when you read them on paper, don't love one another, love your neighbor? Why is it and how is it that sometimes we get to those junctions and we are just stuck? One of our staff members here, Denise Robinson, was interviewed this week on our podcast, Life Plus God, and we put those out every couple of weeks, and they're really fun and informative, and I hope you'll check them out. But she was being interviewed and was asked about, has she faced challenges as being a person all in as a disciple of Jesus Christ? What makes that rewarding or special for you? And she said, and I quote, "The deeper I go in following Jesus, the more closely I try to follow his instructions to love my neighbor, the harder and more complicated it seems to get. I wish it were as simple as a checklist." Wouldn't that be nice if we just had, okay, turn to page 292, hard people to love, checklist. You know, in a way, we kind of have a checklist. In the Old Testament, we'll call it the Big Ten. That's a bit of a checklist, right? How are you doing at following those? Pretty good? Jesus cuts it to the quick and says this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. There you have it. How's that working out for you? Do you love all your neighbors? Do you love all the people that you come in contact with day in and day out? In the midst of our trying to live our most sincere life as a follower of Christ, might you, like I often do, hit the brakes? I have an ongoing conversation with Jesus as I am trying to create an exemption list. You know what I mean by that? I'm trying to get clearance from Jesus that I have about 5 to 10 people that I don't have to love. Do you have any people in your life that are like that? Not specifics, mind you, but in general. We have this ongoing tug of war, and Jesus continues to say the same thing over and over again. Love your neighbor. Doug, love your neighbor. I'm like, Jesus, but there are some people who are extremely hard to love. Love your neighbor. Love your neighbor. I am hopeful that we get this worked out before I die, because I am not confident of the consequences. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get in heaven. I don't know what kind of room I'll get. I don't know if I'll get a room with a view. I don't know that since I didn't get this totally worked out before I passed, how it's going to turn out. But I continue to grapple with the hard people. Again, I wonder if you have hard people. You might be thinking of specifics, but in general, like right now, I'm just thinking of, well, here's some of the, I really have a hard time loving mean people. You know what I mean by that? There's just people in the world who are just mean. What's that about? what happened to them as a kid? Or what, golly, they're just mean, and they're mean to other people, and they are hurtful and hateful and self-centered, and they say things that you can't even believe came out of a person's mouth, and it just seems like it just rolls off their back. What? And I have to love them? What's that about? We were coming back from dinner last night with some friends, and I don't know that this person's mean, but they're on my list this morning. They were driving a really cool, pretty new black BMW, and wherever they were going, they were in a big old hurry. My dad would have called them a bat out of where. Well, that just kind of got on my nerves. So he was zipping and zapping and got behind me. You know how they do, like right up on your tail, and they're flashing your lights like they're going to a fire or they're going to rescue a kitten or something. I don't know. But I decided to bless them by driving like a pawpaw. I slowed down to about 30 miles an hour. There we were on Legacy in Plano, and lights were flashing, and I just was tootling away. And he eventually zoomed around me and kind of gave me some hand signals. And I don't know that they were blessing me, but anyway, I just have a hard time loving people who think everything they have to do is more important than what you have to do. You've met them. They drive up and down 35 every day, right? Haven't you seen them out there? You know who I'm talking about. A friend of mine told me this week that he runs into them all the time in airports. He travels a lot for business, and they are always the most important person to get on the plane next. They're always in, are you in group one? I'm in group one. Are you sure you're in group one? And they seem to always kind of show off that they're in double platinum, triple most important person group. So everybody else needs to just clear out. There's just something about that self-centeredness that gnaws at me. I probably also have different ways that I do that. Occasionally in line at 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee, don't mess up the machine before I get mine, okay? That's about my level of self-importance. No, seriously, though. I need God's help to shape my heart to love the way He wants me to love. I have a hard time loving people who do things abusively to other people, to kids and to pets and to just that whole array of sex trafficking and people who sell drugs without any regard to the damage they're impacting in people's lives. Now, we're supposed to love them, right? If I read the book, they are also a beloved child of God. But darn it if it's not hard to love them. What about the people who have different values than mine and people who have a different faith than mine? I'm supposed to love them as well, right? People who have broken laws and done bad things and ended up in jail or in prison and have taken advantage of other folks. I'm supposed to love them too, right? Oh my goodness, y'all. There's days that I want to love everyone equally. I want to see within each and every person the beloved child of God that I know I am supposed to love. But for me, at this season of my life, this is my growing edge. I wonder if you have a growing edge like this. When I am at my wit's end with this, I am reminded throughout Scripture. One that comes to mind this morning is it's in the very same chapter as what we read about love your neighbor. If you back up a little bit to the beginning of John 15, there are these words of encouragement. Abide in me as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. For I am the vine and you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing. To abide. It's not a word you've probably used today, is it? Or maybe even yesterday. But I think you understand very clearly, as do I, the branch imagery, the vines that are dependent on the, if you would, the mother branch, the mother stalk. And from that comes the nourishment. And from that comes the fruit. And if and when you know how to prune it correctly, it will bear more flowers or more fruit or whatever it is you're aspiring to be or to produce. So, as I think through this and as I wrestle through this, I'm just going to leave you with, I guess this is the template I have been using of late, to learn to love the people who are the hardest to love. The thing that has come in very helpful is just to be able to stand up and say it out loud. To try to not to live under the facade of perfect Christian Dougie Meyer. That there are people who are hard to love. And that saying it out loud doesn't make me better or worse, it just makes me honest. And I would encourage you in whatever setting you're in to say it out loud as well. Pretty sure God's going to work with you on that. You're not going to just, it's going to be okay. The second thing that I have found helpful is just to continue to seek what I call is input from the owner's manual. Go back to God's word. Day in and day out, you will find strength and encouragement and support. There will be situations and verses and stories that will both identify with where you are and that will call you to a better place. Thirdly, live your faith as you are in a faith community. Live life and faith with other people. Many of you already do this. You're involved in all sorts of groups, whether it's here or beyond. Our life groups, our Sunday school classes. Maybe your people are the choir. Maybe your people are in missions. Have people with whom you are doing life and doing faith. That collective strength that we all kind of get from grinding it out together. And then lastly, the one that has probably been the most formative in my life as, I was about to say, as a young pastor. I don't know where that came from. I make myself laugh. I wish I had started this as a young pastor, but this group were some of the people that I used to have on my list that I shouldn't have to love. And it's all the hard people. The people who I used to have a story for about why they are the way they are. And I have shared this frequently over the last 5 years of getting involved in supporting a young man who's been in prison. And, I used to kind of just have a story that those were discarded folks. You got what you deserved, you did a bad thing, and, just whatever. It was not a place where I exerted any energy. And interestingly, when you have a relationship with a person before they go to prison and then in prison, the prison doors don't end that relationship, do they? But I learned there is an expectation of me and of all of us to continue to recognize even people who have done things as beloved children of God. I've had occasion with some other men here in the church to go to prison. Never ever in my whole life imagined that I would walk through double, triple doors of prison and barbed wire and all the things that you do to go make a prison visit. But it has forever changed the way I understand and see people who are living out a sentence in prison. Those are moms and dads. Those are somebody's sons and daughters. I think I told you about the time we were there at Christmas and the little girl was singing Christmas carols to her daddy through the glass walls and holding pictures that she had colored. And for me that year, that was Christmas. Love exists within prison. People who are sent away like that are not disposable people. So anyway, I have a feeling God has a plan for my future. Continuing this relationship beyond prison now in a halfway house has been enlightening as well, and I'll save that for another day. But just Friends, all of this is my way of saying, be cautious to create a story that discards people, that creates a story because of the way a person is or isn't or doesn't meet up to your expectations or lives differently, that you no longer are called to love them as a beloved child of God. As I read the book and as I listen and learn, no one is excluded. No one. No one. This morning, after I preached this at 8:30, I thought, man, you kind of sound like Debbie Downer. I don't mean to be. What I mean to be is encouraging that we take this love business seriously. As you know, I'm involved in recovery here at Trietsch, and one of the things that has gifted me through that program is the simple little phrase, do one day at a time. Do one day at a time. If you're wondering how to begin this process of loving those people in your life that you've decided you don't need to love, how about you do it that way? One day at a time. So I have 11:45. Do you think you could take that on till 3 o'clock? What do you say? If you're bold, maybe go to say 6 o'clock or when 60 Minutes comes on, or whatever your program is at 6 o'clock. Are the Mavs on tonight, or the Stars? Just make that your goal, okay? And then suddenly you're going to realize it's bedtime, and maybe you've kept an open mind till then. And you got tomorrow's an easy day. Tomorrow's almost like free pass, Memorial Day. Really? Right? That's going to be an easy day. Just say to yourself, God, help me love the most unlovable person in my life today. But be careful. Be careful, because if you say that and pray that, you know what's going to happen, right? Johnny in a hurry is going to be in front of you on Legacy on his way home from dinner and is going to cut you off and give you a hand signal. And God's going to say, remember, didn't you say you wanted to love everybody, Doug Meyer? Friends, we can do this. We are doing this in pockets here and there. I invite you to join me and hold me accountable. When you see me, say, hey, how you doing on that list? But if you do that, I'm going to ask you how your list is coming as well. One of my good friends this morning at the coffee pot said, I was just relieved to hear my name was not on that list. Friends, join me in doubling down on recognizing within every last one of us a beloved child of God exists in that person. Amen? That was a very tentative amen, but we're going to go with it. Let's pray. Gracious and holy God, doing life as you have instructed and called us to do is at times very challenging. Some days we do fair, and other days we strike out. Help us, oh God, to have renewed energy towards loving all people, regardless. To hand over our list to you and to be honest, for some remodeling of our hearts where is needed. In your name we pray. Amen. Friends, thank you for all the ways that you live into the callings of Jesus, into being generous in your time and your gifts. We thank you for all the different ways that you support Trietsch financially. And we're going to watch a little video now that just brings to life one more of those ways that your giving helps ministry happen here at Trietsch. Let's check this out.
Hi, Trietsch family. I'm Karen, and I want to take a moment to thank you for your tremendous generosity for the ministries here at Trietsch. And I'd like to talk to you about one that's especially near and dear to my heart, and that's the choir. Our choir is made up of people from 16 years old and beyond. We rehearse every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and sing in the 11 a.m. worship service. It's a fun, vibrant group to be a part of, and you are welcome to join us. There's a misconception that perhaps you need to know how to read music, but we can help you with that. And there's really a lot of strength in numbers, so when we come together, those who haven't been singing for a while are aided by those who've been singing for a long time. So the way I've learned scripture and the disciples and the books of the Bible is all through music. So it nurtures our soul, it uplifts our spirits, and we would love to have you come and participate with our fantastic choir. To support choir and all the ministries of Trietsch, please scan the QR code, go to tmumc.org/give, or text the letters TMUMC to 45777.